chemical substances. Ethers in reaction, both are transformed. That's a quote by Young. The best teammates are those that combine their energy in a synergistic way. What this means is that together they produce exponentially a greater result than they would as discrete individuals. This kind of teamwork also means that each individual that participates will expand and grow so that when they are done with that project, they will have more skill. In regards to United States organizations, 78% state that teamwork is a part of their culture. What this means for you is that when you become a better teammate, you'll be probably advancing your career as well. This will help you. Today I'm going to talk about 5 criteria for being a good teammate. There was some research done, some cutting-edge research that gives us these 5 criteria. I'm going to talk about that, and then I'm going to also give you an example that will illustrate these 5 criteria in action. This was an interesting research study, I thought, because it was from the viewpoint of a fellow team member. In other words, it's peer evaluation based. There were 800 people that participated in this. It took place over a 3-year period. They had 5 key criteria that contributed to being a good teammate. Number 1, contribution. It's important if you participate on a team that you do your fair share and that you make a meaningful contribution. Number 2 is interaction. This means that you're able to communicate with others on your team, but you're also able to listen to your fellow team members as well. Number 3 is expectation of quality. This means that you shoot for being a high-achieving team. You expect to be high performers. Number 4 is knowledge and skills. This means that you actually use your knowledge, skills, and abilities in the work that you do on that team. And finally, number 5 is conflict resolution behaviors. And what this means is that you're willing to get your points across, even if they differ from those of your fellow team members. You are also willing to work with those other team members so that you can resolve the conflict and move forward. The example I'm going to give you today was kind of an unlikely event that happened. If this unexpected event of teamwork had not occurred, I do not think this company would be the grand success that it is today. I'm going to give you a little bit of background, then I'll talk about these 5 criteria and how they contributed to this being an effective team. The company that this example comes from is Fiege. This is a family-owned German company, and really where it got interesting was by the time they reached the 4th generation. This company is in the logistics business. They have complex computerized systems, distribution warehouses. They provide a comprehensive supply chain solution to their customers. They have 11,000 employees. They're in 17 different countries. However, they had very meager beginnings. The company was founded initially by Johann Joseph Fiege in 1873. He was a farmer full-time, and he decided to do some hauling for people in the village. He hauled coal with his horse and cart just to bring in some extra money. Farming turned out to be a very important part of what the Fiege family did because it provided them with a cash cow so that they could build up this transportation business, this transport and hauling business. Freight forwarders is what they finally became. They did it because they had this money to support it was a real entrepreneurial endeavor. It took a long time and a lot of energy to get to where they are today. John Joseph Fige, in 1873, got the idea. He found out that there was a textile mill moving in at a distance down the Ems River. So he thought, well, what I'm going to do is just move the family. We'll move there, and that way maybe I can do some hauling for them, which he did. So that was a good move. They continued to grow the company bit by bit. One of their first big milestones was in 1924. They got a Volmag truck that had rubber tires. This meant they could make longer trips hauling. So that was pretty key. By 1939, they had a whole fleet of trucks. Then there's World War I and World War II, which did affect their business and kind of put a damper on it. For instance, in World War II, they were actually occupied by British troops. Their offices, warehouses, and workshops had British troops there taking over. They also took 6 of their 8 trucks for use in the war. Not good, but they persevered. They got through all of this, and they kept going. And finally, in the 50s, things were really booming. The descendant, Joseph Fige, was running the business. He was in charge. This was the day before his birthday, and he was making a business trip. He was in a fender bender. He knocked over a traffic sign, so he got out to go put it back up. Boom! He was struck by a truck and killed instantly. This was devastating for Fige. There wasn't anyone to really step into a leadership position at that time. His 2 sons, Heinz and Hugo, were 14 and 10, so they couldn't help with the business. They were just children at that point. What happened was that the aunt and uncle came over, and they maintained the status quo and kept the business going. And finally, the uncle really got Heinz to join at a very young age. He was only in his 20s. When Heinz came on the scene, he could see that they were really behind, that the buildings were old, the trucks were old, everything was very antiquated. So he started to make some investments to try to modernize the business. Then, boom, in 1973, the oil crisis hit. This had a bad effect on Fige. They lost money for the very first time ever. Heinz panicked. Hugo had just graduated from Munster University. He had been married for 2 years. He had just finished his business administration degree. He'd planned on, after that, working as a manager in some small companies so that he could get some experience before he joined Fige, because Fige now had 300 people. However, when this happened, Heinz went to find Hugo, and he approached him and he said, "I need you to come help me run the company now. Now's the time." So Hugo did. He came on over to help his brother Heinz. They were 2 very different people with very complementary skill sets. Let's look at these criteria. The first one is in terms of contribution. Each had very different things they contributed to the company. Heinz was very good with customers. He knew the processes and systems inside and out for the transport business. He knew the ABCs of it. Hugo, on the other hand, was very systematic, methodical. He was a diplomat, really. He was also had a very strategic vision. He could help with bringing the company into the future. They worked really well together as a team. In terms of interaction, they both had very different dispositions, different views of the world. They got into arguments. However, they were always able to find some kind of common ground because their goal was to move the company forward. They were a great negotiating team. The next criteria is expectation of quality. Both Heinz and Hugo were risk takers. They were willing to take risks to move the company forward. This was really key to their ultimate success. The business had been really changing from being strictly about hauling to being more about freight forwarding. Heinz and Hugo knew that they had to bring the company forward if they were going to continue to be competitive in the business. One of the things they did in order to accomplish that was in 1980, they invested in this 35,000 square meter mega distribution center. They were visionaries though. They wanted to be a competitive freight forwarder. They knew that in order to do that, what they would really need is 20 or 30 of these centers, network of these throughout Germany. They also knew that they would need to be able to do short range and long range hauling and have all of this and the goods handling and have it all integrated together. That was their long-term goal. They were visionaries. And the next key criteria is knowledge and skills. The best testament to their knowledge and skills is that the German Ministry of Research and Technology selected Feej to work on this special project. Hugo took it on, and he did great. The whole idea of the project was to bring the German industry, to advance German industry in the field of logistics. After this, Hugo was encouraged to go for his doctorate. He was reluctant because he did not think that he would be able to run the company and also have time to work on his dissertation. But he decided, I'll take it on. The key proposition of his dissertation was that the information should precede the goods. Feej ended up using this as a central theme of their logistics business. What this meant for their customers is that they were able to save bundles of money by doing it that way. In 1992, they received the German Logistics Prize, which is a very prestigious award. They created something called eco-logistics, which means that they take into account the environment in everything that they do. They adopted a very holistic approach to logistics by integrating everything together so that it works seamlessly for customers. In terms of conflict resolution, Heinz and Hugo worked together they were an excellent top management team. The best testament to this is that by the 1990s, they had many of these distribution centers throughout Germany. A lot of these had 100,000 square meters or more of space, so they were able to expand and grow. Not only that, but by the year 2012, they had 3 million square meters of distribution space. That year they had 1.5 billion euros of turnover, so they're doing well financially. In order to be an effective teammate, there's 5 criteria that you need to master. Number 1, make sure you contribute to that team and do something that makes a difference for that team. Number 2, in terms of interaction, make sure you communicate your views and also that you can listen to others on your team. Number 3, expectation of quality. Make sure that you have a vision for your team and that everyone else is working towards that same vision. Number 4, knowledge and skills. Make sure that you bring your knowledge, skills, and abilities to that team and apply it towards that particular team's work that you're doing together. Finally, conflict resolution behaviors. Make sure you voice your opinions, even if they're in opposition to your fellow teammates. It's also important that you work to resolve those conflicts so that you can move forward. Today I gave you the example of Heinz and Hugo and how they were kind of an unexpected team at the top because they were not anticipating this, but it came to them. They developed this great camaraderie which spread throughout the company. Fast forward to 1997, the company was organized so that small teams could do the work. They have produced this masterful logistics company. It's quite an empire in Europe as well as across the globe by now. This happened because two personalities met, and their synergistic energy was contagious.